to Hillary Clinton, comparing Republicans to terrorists. Listen to this.
Extreme views about women, we expect that from some of the terrorist groups. We expect that from people who don't want to live in the modern world. But it's a little hard to take coming from Republicans.
Leslie Marshall is with us. Leslie Hughes to the left. She represents Democrats. Am I right so far, Leslie Marshall? Yes, I think I am. Okay.
Yes. I don't know if I represent. I don't represent Democrats. I am a Democrat. Yes,
okay, got it. I think Hillary Clinton was way out of line. I think she sounds desperate. And I don't think any candidate should be comparing their opponents to terrorists. What say you?
Well, first of all, she didn't say the Republicans were terrorists. What she said, and you just, played the soundbite. She said that the extremist views on women, that we'd expect that from terrorists. And you know what? If we look at some of what's been said,
Leslie, you know perfectly well that she was referring to Republican opponents. You know she was. She's in a corner. She's desperate, so she's lashing out. She's lashing out.
No, she's not desperate. I think it's desperate to say from one Republican candidate, I'm going to use, and I'm paraphrasing, the military, the FBI, the National Guard, to prevent a woman from getting an abortion. We have another that says women's health issues should not be funded. We have another calling a top journalist, a respected woman, lawyer and journalist, a bimbo, and saying horrific things about women. I don't think she owes an apology. I think some of the people making these comments in the GOP should perhaps be giving an apology. Donald Trump to Latinos,
hold on,
for
Leslie.
example.
I'm going to listen to what Marco Rubio, presidential candidate, Republican, listen to what he said this morning on Fox and Friends.
They won't call terrorists, going all the way back to Benghazi and even before that, but they call their political opponents terrorists.
Well, you heard that. You want to respond to Marco Rubio?
Well, I've always said in the past, and I think we constantly get hung up on semantics. I think if there's a terrorist act, you call it a terrorist act. I thought what happened at Fort Hood was a terrorist act and not workplace violence. And I think once they had the knowledge with Benghazi that this was a terrorist action, that should have been said by the president, by the Secretary of State. You know, if President Obama says a terrorist or Islamic terrorist, and I know that you want him to, that's not going to change the path or the goals of ISIS, and it's not going to help us to defeat them. So to me, say it, let's move on.
Okay, you said, look, she's not desperate. Well, listen to this one. When asked to describe Hillary, the three most common words that voters in a Quinnipiac poll said, the three most common words associated with Hillary were as follows: liar, dishonest, untrustworthy. You know, Leslie, I think that's a problem. For a presidential candidate, if those are the three most commonly used words to describe the candidate by ordinary, regular voters, I think that's a problem.
I would agree with you if we have this consistently going forward. We have to look at the fact that, one, this is summer. Two, her leading opponent on the right, Donald Trump, is probably hated equal or more than she is, according to this very
hold on a
same
second,
poll.
Leslie. Hold on. The same poll asked the same question about Trump, and there were negative words used to describe Trump.
Yes.
However, there were the polling sample was far more negative and used those negative words far more times against Hillary than against Donald Trump.
Again, this is a woman who has a double-digit lead, with the exception of the state of New Hampshire, over her closest opponent currently, of course, because Joe Biden is not yet in the race and we don't know if he will be. I'm not worried yet, although I would say if I were to advise Mrs. Clinton, you need to look at these polls and take some of this information very seriously, and certainly that would be an image issue. And I have said it before on your show, even I think last week, that she needs to come clean, if you will, and address the emails, make an apology and move on. And because she hasn't done that, I think there is some of this perception, and that's why some of those adjectives are attributed to her in this poll.
She's kind of desperate today. I think she's meeting with the DNC. I think she's looking for money, and I think she's going to tell the DNC, don't go with Joe Biden. I think that's an area of desperation that she's in right now. Leslie, I'm sorry to cut it short like this. I've got to go. It's a big day. It's a big show. You know how it is. Leslie Marshall, thanks very much for
Yes,
Democrat. Leslie Marshall, thanks for joining us.